Hi, this is part 8 of the Green the Boat Oklahoma Christian Challenge. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you watching these videos. I know there's a lot of you watching these videos. You're passing around, you're sharing it. Continue to do that. Again, remember to subscribe, like, share. Put them out there on Facebook. Put them out there on your Twitter account. Put them out there on Google, Instagram, whatever you have to do. Spread the word. Now, again, the purpose of these videos is strictly recognizing that this petition will pass. It may not, I cannot say when it will pass, but it will pass. This will come to a state vote. And again, it will pass in the state. I have explained the map, talked about all the marks on the map and how they all represent. Now I want you to see here, this mark here, this is DC, okay? In DC, nation's capital, medical marijuana, legalized marijuana, which means recreational marijuana. It's all there. They allow it in DC, which is our nation's capital. We see it spreading across the nation. Every state except for 3 states don't have some level of it. And so it is coming to the nation. It's just a matter of time. Again, this is an appeal to the church leaders, but we are getting to the point where I'm getting away from the church leaders. Church leaders by now have either watched this or not watched this, and a lot of church leaders have decided to slam the door. So I just want to talk about some other issues. We are still talking about the petition and about your chance to sign that petition. It's circulating across the state. Again, get on greentheboatok.com. The link is always going to be posted in the description, so go there. Again, I have a playlist with a lot of the documentaries. I've explained in the previous video the 3 different kinds. I gave you a warning on the second one, which is an hour and 45 minutes. It's a Canadian one. It has a comedian in there, a well-known actor. We've all seen him. We've all watched his show many times, and he's rather flamboyant with his language, a little bit strong. You've had your warning. Watch those documentaries. Lots of information there from people who are way more knowledgeable than me, who have studied this thoroughly. And there's documentaries, everything from, biblically to scientifically, whatever. So historically, there's lots of information there, which is better that I share that with you than my own personal opinion, because a lot of you will not listen to me because I'm just, Joe the plumber to you. Here's the deal. We're getting into talking about the law, and I want you churches to be very careful. There are some things that you can do inside the churches that are perfectly legal and acceptable. You decide on who you're going to hire, who you're going to fire, whether it's the minister or the janitor. You make all those choices and decisions based upon a lot of things. The law even allows you to do that based on whether there is differences theologically, whereas no other entity or business or corporation could do that. In the church is that way. In other words, the Supreme Court protects your right not to hire people that you feel have a lifestyle that's contradictory to the gospel of Jesus Christ. Let me start right there, break in real quick and say, there's nothing I'm saying, nothing about any of this that I want you to misunderstand. I believe that in the case of sickness and illness, that you ought to follow the scriptures. First things first is you need to call upon the hand and grace of God to go in and deal with that in your life. And I believe in the power of miracle. I believe our prayers are answered. And I believe you pray to God because you yourself believe in the power of miracles and God's loving intervention in our lives. I believe that our stripes, but by Christ's stripes, we are healed. I believe in the full mercy and goodness of Jesus Christ. I believe that he healed people who never knew his name and who never had faith in him, like the centurion's daughter, who never even saw him, yet who never touched him. Far away as she was, she received the healing because of her master's faith. I believe in the covering sanctification of Jesus Christ, and I believe in the power of Christ. I do not believe, as all of you are the same way, except for very few, that prayer should be your only channel. If there are people out there in the world who say I should only pray and it should only be of faith, and faith alone is what I'm going to rely on to heal my loved one. What ends up happening in the end, if they end up dying because you refuse to take them to the hospital or to the doctor, you're criminally liable, and that has happened repeatedly, and we don't, in the church, don't condone that. We understand that. There's people that are watching this by the vast millions who are on prescription drugs, and they'll see the doctor on a regular routine. So that medicinally, all we're talking about is a medicinal issue in medicine, okay? Understand, when I talk about the church, I am not talking about my individual church, and what I say is my opinion alone, and not necessarily the opinion of those in my church, okay? There are things I have said which directly are not agreed with by members of my church. There are things that I've said that members of my church are wholeheartedly behind. When I talk about the church, I'm talking about the whole world. 6 billion people, closing on 7. Over 2 billion of them are Christians, okay? Or they identify as being Christians. And nowadays, if you identify as something, you must be it. You can be anything in the world, just identify as a whole different group, a species or whatever, and that's what you are if you identify. So there's billions of people out there, over 2 billion, that are members of churches, attend church regularly, and identify as being Christians. So it's a generality, and it approaches everybody. Okay, here's the deal. And this is what I want to warn you, your churches. You have rights to make lots of decisions, lots of things under your authority. You don't want anybody petitioning on your property. I fully, wholeheartedly agree with that. I understand that. But you need to understand this, because there are evil people out there who do wicked, twisted things. And they will do things that are against what you might consider to be moral or moralities. And you can't, in America, we don't legislate morality. We've gotten away from that as a nation. They say you can't legislate morality, and that's always been an argument, even since the founding of the nation, and they were designing the Constitution, whether it should be based on morality or whether it should be based on just pure legalism, okay? And what was considered by society common law and laws of God, given, just a legal basis. Okay, so let's get into it. I keep looking around, looking for hints. I have things laid around me all over that remind me of where I'm supposed to be at. Here's the deal. You, as a church, have right to do on your property a lot of things. As a church, there's a lot of people, again, generality is not addressing anybody in particular. There are a lot of people in your church that are staff members, okay? They are people that work for the church on a voluntary basis or on a salary basis. You know that there are things that you decide on, whether you use PowerPoint or whether you use hymnals, whether you use both, or whether you use contemporary music or traditional music. There's a lot of political things in your church that get discussed, kicked back and forth. Signs, how you're going to build signs, what you're going to do with the playgrounds. There's lots of decisions and lots of politics and lots of disagreements, theological disagreements and discussions and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to this petition, you should understand that there's a legal right, a foundational right in our government that allows everybody to petition. Same as their freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, protection against search and seizure. Your right to petition is a fundamental right. It's protected by the courts. It's protected by the district attorneys. It's protected by the police. So if somebody's passing a petition and they're on public land or public easement, which in every city that I know of is from the curb back 10 or 12 feet, depending on their particular zoning codes, that land is allowed, and that's where people put their garage sale signs. That's where they put their political signs, and that's where people petition. And they're allowed to use that, and whether it's in front of a place of business or in front of a church. And yes, somebody can erect a petition site. And again, this is why I say there are evil people that would do that. I would never in a million years think or recommend anybody do this, but they could literally use that public land in front of your church building to get out there and put a petition, regardless what the basis for the petition is. It doesn't matter. They could use that space, okay? Because it's not church property, it's easement property. And your right stops at that 10-foot spot from the curb. So I tell you that because when you decide to do things, some of you are very zealous for protecting your congregation and protecting your sheep and protecting the flock. And if that's one of the objections that we haven't discussed, see, it's the protection. And you think that if your flock is allowed access to this, they won't be able to deal with it, to tolerate it, to control it, and it will be an endangerment to their lifestyle or to whatever. And that's why you act. And it's a purely honorable motive. But you need to understand that that's why I understand why you haven't mentioned that as being an objection, because it would be considered extremely offensive to tell a sick member of your church you can't have access to it, or you don't condone access to it, not based on legal reasons, but based on the reason that you don't think that they're a strong, morally capable person of controlling their own life and the substances that go in their body. And we, as a church, make those decisions, and as leaders and deacons and elders all the time, that things that we say that are in alignment with the scriptures based on scriptural basis, but we do things all the time, like I pointed out in previous episodes, that are extra scriptural. In other words, they don't align with the scriptures in any way, shape, or form. But we do them because we feel that thing is beneficial to the community, or helps to spread the word, or whatever the purpose is. It's a long, long history of the church doing that. We have countlessly, continually spread the word in the name of Jesus Christ by going into communities and doing things that are extra scriptural. We do that. Anyways, so we understand that legal right to petition is there, and there's nothing illegal about it. If you interfere with a petitioner who's passing a petition, if they're in public property, you're interfering with their constitutional rights. Okay. That in there. Let me say this. You're mad because you didn't get a chance to vote. You didn't get a chance to vote on whether prayer was allowed in school. And if you could have the chance to vote whether prayer was allowed in school and the churches could participate in that, I dare say there would be no question that vote would sail through. So start a petition. Pass a petition, get your state amendment passed, get it on the ballot, and have it as a national question whether or not we should have a national amendment to put prayer back in schools. 10 Commandments on church property, on the church walls, the Word of God everywhere. We know it's foundational in this country. Start a petition, get it put back in place. There's nothing keeping you from putting a petition out there, except your own individual choice for whatever reason. Abortion. A lot of you churches don't support abortion. And start a petition. Get it put on your state ballot. Let the people of the state vote on it. Take it to the United States. Make it a U.S. amendment. We respect the life of the individual child from the point of conception. Whatever it is, put it out there. You didn't have a right to vote on it. You're angry. I understand that. Gay marriage. You're through the roof. How could they do that? Well, start a petition. Get it moving. Put it on your state ballot. We already did that. In 30-some states, we were this close to making a U.S. amendment before the court did that. At what point did we lose state rights? Some say at the end of the Civil War. Some say when they stopped fighting and just decided, well, the Supreme Court said it, so I'm going to go sit on my couch, throw a fit, pout, and not do anything. It's still out there. It's still Oklahoma State Amendment. It's still all these other state amendments had it done constitutionally. It doesn't matter what the Supreme Court says. Take it to the next step. If you want to fight for it, fight for it. Push it through, and the Supreme Court becomes null and void because the Supreme Court cannot override a constitutional amendment. So here we are. Here's another petition for medicine, for patients' rights, for people who need this medicine because there's no other medication like it out there that can do what this medication can do. And all they want is the right in their state for their amendment to go through so that they have access, okay? Eventually, there will be enough states together that pass this because there's 23 already that have it as legal medical use. There's another dozen that have already allowed it as cannabinoids and other things. That's the chemical that's found in it, in the oils. Oklahoma's one of them. Oklahoma, you'll notice, has marks. They allow the oils and allow it under conditional use. They will eventually have enough states to pass this as a constitutional amendment, or the politicians will recognize that that's such a great risk and they legally cannot stop it without the district attorneys and attorney generals going and fighting it like they did the amendments for or failing to stand up and protect it like the other state amendments that we've mentioned, that it will eventually be the law of the land. And when it's the law of the land, it's going to, next step will be, it will become a law of the globe, because there are many other countries around the world who are starting to do this. Portugal, for an example, doesn't outlaw anything. It doesn't possession of anything. It doesn't matter whether it's heroin or cocaine or methamphetamines or anything. They have no law against it. They have laws against operating a vehicle under the influence. They have laws against mass bulk cultivation and sales and all that. But simple possession is not illegal, or individual use is not illegal, because they go after the manufacturers. They don't go after the individual. Just like we did in Prohibition, we did not go after the individual consumers of the alcohol. We went after the manufacturers. And this is basically Prohibition. And the only difference is, in this Prohibition, we go after the consumers. And that's why we only have 5% of the world's population, but we have 25% of the world's prisoners. It's because we have simply quadrupled our prison building to house all the people for nonviolent crimes, particularly consumers. 80% of the money that goes into the DEA specifically for fighting marijuana, not for cocaine and methamphetamine and all that other stuff. That's the little 20%, and most of that is just administrative cost. They want this one thing taken off the map. Why? What's so threatening about it? It's God created a plant. It's beneficial. It mimics things that your body does and replaces things that are missing in your body. It performs functions that no other medicine does. It would be miracle medicine, if you want to use the term, in so many lives. Why the eagerness to fight against it? It should raise huge question marks in your brain. There should be steamroller engine gears turning and twisting and saying, what's the big deal? Why is this thing why are they fighting this with so much energy and so much drive? And it's because of capital cronyism, if you really want to get down to it, and power. That's pure and simple. That's all it is. Capital cronyism. The pharmaceutical companies, the insurance companies, the energy companies, the textile companies, all the companies that would lose major billions of dollars if this was allowed to pass are all on Washington. You must stop this plant. Industrial hemp must be brought to an end. Marijuana must be brought to an end. And you churches are being played as a pawn, because you're being allowed to be twisted over lies and rumors and deceptions. You have a right to vote here. Any other time on any other issue, you would throw a royal fit if you could not vote on prayer in schools, on 10 Commandment plaques, on, like I say, abortion, same-sex marriage, all the other things that you can even think of that have passed to morally any degradation of this nation that you would love to have a vote on, but you never had a vote on. Here's the issue. You have a right to sign a petition. You have a right to vote on it. Go into the polls educated. Leaders of the church, teach the laws as Christ expressed them, the commandments that Christ expressed. And they are based on principles that are not necessarily spelled out word for word. When he said, thou shalt not kill, it took God himself in the form of Jesus coming down, born of a virgin, to get out there and go back to the Sermon on the Mount, to the exact same people that law was given, thou shalt not kill, to express. But if you have anger in your heart towards your brother, you've already killed them. Thou shalt not commit adultery. But if you look on a woman with lust in your heart, you've already committed adultery. It wasn't spelt out in the law, but it was a principle. And many of you are saying, it's got to exactly say, well, that's legalism. That's letter of the law. Jesus fulfilled the law. It's all there. You can't fulfill the law in the letter of the law. You have to fulfill the spirit of the law. 20 minutes. If you've watched this, I hope that as a Christian, let's wrap this up, that you have got to the point where you understand that my motives are simply to serve my fellow man. I hope that you understand that I have a wife at home that has literally, as I've expressed many, many times, been swamped with pill pushers. Take this pill, take that pill, take that pill. And there's medication out there that can eliminate all of that. I hope that you understand that when I'm saying this for all the cancer patients out there, for all the people suffering from muscular sclerosis, for all the people still suffering from diabetes and epilepsy and all the other issues that this can help. And it's not a personal issue, not personal benefit, not personal glorification. It's just simply get out there and do the right thing. Okay? It's medicine. That's all I'm asking. Right to have access to medicine. Not recreational use, medicine. And the legal right for people to just simply go out and vote. You as a church, you've been cut out of the cycle. You've been cut out of the right to do a lot of this. The war on God continues through this nation. You have a right to participate in a positive way. So let's get out there and do it. Let's get out there and honor God and serve our fellow man. Let's not just give him a bowl of soup, but let's help him with his medication too. Okay? Straightforward, simple. Love God, love your neighbor as Christ loved you. God bless you. Have a great life. And again, if you're taking any of this personal, it's not intended as personal. These are all generalities meant to approach the whole situation. If you find yourself defending things that are extra scriptural and not specifically spelled out in the scripture, and I pointed those out in the legalism sections, again, it's not intended as a personal attack. I know that when you work on these things, you work on them in honor of Jesus Christ and in honor of God and to serve your community. It's not meant as personal. Don't take it as intentional. God bless you. Have a wonderful life and do the best you can every day. We are all sinners. We all fall short of the glory of God. We all need the grace of Jesus Christ, the grace of God, and the blood of Jesus Christ. None of us are going to be saved except through his name. And we need your support. The patients need your support. Your family that's going to deal with these situations at some point needs your support. God bless you.